안녕하세요. 새로운 한 주가 시작이 되었습니다. 오늘은 월요일, 지금은 아침 9시. 오늘부터는 오후 출근이에요. 그래서 11시에 영어 학원을 가야 됩니다. 왜 이렇게 새벽에 깨는지 모르겠어요. 낮밤이 안 바뀌었나, 아직. 아, 그래도 잠을 계속 자가지고 피곤한 건 좀 없네요. 근데 멍하긴 합니다. 잠이 깨야겠죠, 이제. 오늘도 엄청 더울 것 같네요. 일단 스트레칭하고 발굽혀펴기랑 똑같이 턱걸이는 안 하고 하겠습니다. 일단 운동하겠습니다. 스트레칭하면서 잠을 빨리 깨야지. 역시 운동할 땐 CNN.
How do you balance your politics and the need to make a statement? Why do you think it's important to do what you did today? I'm Robin Kerno in Atlanta, and this is CNN.
President Trump making his return to the campaign trail in Tulsa, Oklahoma last night with a smaller than expected crowd. The arena, which holds more than 19,000 people, only had about 6,200 in attendance, that according to the Tulsa Fire Marshal. Last week, the president boasted on Twitter that more than 1 million people actually requested tickets to see him speak, but that certainly was not reflected in Saturday's turnout. CNN's Donnie O'Sullivan is joining us right now. Donnie, you've been doing a lot of reporting on this. We're learning that a stunt organized on the social media platform TikTok may have something to do with all of this. Tell our viewers what you're learning.
That's right, Wolf. The social media platform TikTok, which is extremely popular with teenagers here in the United States and all around the world. We should point out here that there wasn't a cap on the number of people that could request tickets for the rally. So it wasn't as if the TikTok users were blocking real Trump supporters from going to the rally in some way. So the fact that the Trump campaign was unable to fill this 20,000 capacity arena isn't necessarily the TikTokers' fault. But I want to show you what this campaign looked like on TikTok. It involved a whole lot of teenagers, but also a grandmother in Iowa as well. Take a look at this video.
If you've been paying attention to the news, you know that Donald Trump is planning on holding his first political rally post-quarantine on June 19th in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Now, if you don't know why that's a big deal, I want you to Google two phrases, Juneteenth and Black Wall Street. You'll find out why people are really upset about this and why it's a slap in the face to the Black community. Somebody on another TikTok post commented that he was offering 2 free tickets on his campaign website to go to this rally. So I went and investigated it. It's 2 free tickets per cell phone number, because when you register, you have to give them your cell phone number. They send you a code, you put the code in, and your tickets are reserved for you. So I recommend all of those of us that want to see this 19,000 seat auditorium barely filled or completely empty, go reserve tickets now and leave him standing there alone on the stage. What do you say?
와, 말 겁나 빠르고.
Buy two
와, 영어 듣기 평가는
for
2배속
free
해놓은 것 같아.
on his website if you just put in your phone number. Saying BTS fans should do this, but what I'm absolutely saying is that they should absolutely go and spam that website and take up all the tickets so that you don't have any people at the rally.
And that teenager there, Wolf, her name is Claire Hanley, and you heard her calling on BTS fans. BTS, would you believe, is actually a South Korean band, a K-pop band, and K-pop fans are known as some of the most organized people on the internet, and it looks like that some of them even got involved in this online protest against Donald Trump. Wolf?
Donnie, the Trump campaign is already dismissing all of this. Tell our viewers what they're saying.
Yeah, so the Trump campaign manager, Brad Parscale, who had been boasting that 1 million people had registered to attend the event, said in a statement today that leftists and online trolls doing a victory lap, thinking they somehow impacted rally attendance, don't know what they're talking about or how our rallies work. Registering for a rally means you've RSVP'd with a cell phone number, and we constantly weed out bogus numbers. These phony ticket requests never factor into our thinking. But if that is the case, and if they really did weed out all the bogus requests, as Parscale describes it, you know, that leaves the question still lingers of where were those 1 million people last night that didn't show up in Tulsa. Wolf?
Interesting indeed. Our Donnie O'Sullivan with his reporting for us. Thank you. As the country endures a cultural reckoning right now with Americans in the streets now for a 27th straight day demanding an end to racial injustice, the president was back out on the campaign trail and back to fanning divisions with some racially charged remarks. We'll update you on that when we come back.
To open doors and to unlock secrets, it takes trust. This was the Duchess's first news interview. Trust that you'll be accurate and you'll be fair. It was an unprecedented move, very eerie. All the roads have been closed off. The Apache attack helicopter. This is what Captain Wales has been flying. What do you do with Crimea? Do you want talks with them? Rare access indeed. That's what it's all about. Max Foster, CNN.
As the world begins to reopen, there is something else that comes to mind. Full throttle business travel.
The bag weighs 19.5 kilos, are you sure?
The life of a business traveller.
Got to bring the bags.
All those comings and goings. Oh, to be sure,
Oh,
we are not going to enjoy this kind of business travel anytime soon.
Business travel is the last thing that's going to recover.
I've caught up with Ben Schlapping, who writes 1 mile at a time. It's time to commiserate.
What are you doing to sort of
우와.
stay sane as a traveller?
너무 아파.
I'm wearing my airline pajamas at home.
이게 정상인가요? 지금 제 몸뚱아리가 정상이에요. 이거 비트는데 너무 아파.
Very cozy.
The airlines will not be the same as they were. They'll be a lot smaller. So with your experience and vast experience of travel, how do you expect that to look?
I think for the
큰일이다.
next few years, obviously demand is going to be way down. I think face masks are probably going to be the norm for a while. I don't think we're going to see this social distancing where the middle seats stay empty.
오늘은
It's just
스쿼트만
not
하겠습니다.
sustainable for
팔굽혀펴기는
airlines. Right now,
내일부터
very few
할게요.
people
일단
are flying.
스트레칭을
What we're
좀
talking
많이
about
해야 될 것 같아요.
numbers actually recovering to what they were before 2020 seems really unlikely that we're ever going to see social distancing.
Welcome to the lead. I'm Jake Tapper. The straight talk you need. That seems to be completely contradicting from your man in Washington. We're getting a new look at the headwinds that congressional Republicans already are facing.
The Lead with Jake Tapper, Tuesday through Saturday on CNN.
I'm Matthew Chance in London, and this is CNN.
When you travel the world, make sure the world travels with you. Check in, log on, and get connected with all of the latest developments at your fingertips. CNN Partner Hotels. Connected to your world.
I'm Clarissa Ward in London, and this is CNN.
As the nation reckons with a coronavirus pandemic that hasn't subsided at all, more than 45 million jobless claims have formally been considered since March, and nationwide protests over racial inequality. White House messaging has focused in on trying to return the country to business as usual. And in keeping with that theme, President Trump returned to the campaign trail last night, where he stoked some racial division and downplayed the severity of the coronavirus pandemic in front of a much smaller crowd than he was touting all week. The former senior advisor to President Obama, Valerie Jarrett, is joining us right now. She's also the author of the book, Finding My Voice, My Journey to the West Wing and the Path Forward. You see the book cover right there. Valerie, thanks for joining us. I want to play for you just some of what the president's racially charged remarks were last night. Listen to this.
So if you want to save your heritage, you want to save that beautiful heritage of ours. We have a great heritage. We're a great country. You are so lucky I'm president. That's all I can tell you. I like the NFL. I like Roger Goodell, but I didn't like what he said a week ago. I said, where did that come from in the middle of the summer? Nobody's even asking. We will never kneel to our national anthem or our great American flag. It's a disease, without question, has more names than any disease in history. I can name Kung Flu.
So, Valerie, what's your reaction when you hear those comments from a sitting president?
Well, Wolf, it's terrifying because he's giving permission to all of his supporters to behave in the same way. He also said last night that about those, quote, lunatics in the street, that we should be expletive glad we have guns. I mean, he's really trying to stoke racial tensions as opposed to healing us. Comments that he's making about the Chinese Americans who are right here in our country, who we've seen upticks in hate crimes towards them. So his behavior is having direct consequences that are terrifying families all across America. And for what purpose? To try to play to a shrinking base of support when as the leader of the country, he should be trying to pull us together.
The president, of course, is from New York City, born and raised, spent most of his life there. When he defends Confederate statues as part of, quote, our heritage, our history, what do you think that message is intended for? Who is it intended to reach?
It's intended to reach a portion of his base. And look, I think we should teach all of our children our heritage in the history books, but I don't think that we should be commemorating and honoring people who believed in slavery, who are actually fighting against our country. And we don't need to have statues. Just imagine what it's like for Black families to have to walk through by statues that are holding up these figures who were supportive of the Confederacy, the flag itself, and I was so delighted to see NASCAR ban it, sending a very positive message for folks on military bases who are prepared to sacrifice their lives, and they're working or living at a base that's named after someone, again, who was a supporter of slavery. What part of that heritage should make people proud? And I think it's really just nonsense. And the issue of taking the knee is not directed at the national anthem. And the whole purpose of it was to draw attention at a time, respectfully, at a time when everyone is quiet, to say we must stop this tension between police and communities of color. It was nonverbal, it was simply taking knee, and the fact that now all across our country, members of law enforcement are joining in, Americans in all 50 states of all races and backgrounds and ages are protesting. It shows me that President Trump is out of sync with the vast majority of our country, but yet and still, he can incite danger from those folks who do follow him, who do support him, and who do what he does. I mean, the fact that last night, we're talking about it wasn't a very big crowd, but you know what? The people who did show up didn't have masks. Because why? The president doesn't wear masks. And why would you have a rally in the middle of a pandemic, particularly in a state where the numbers are going up? And it was reported last night that several members of his own advance team and Secret Service contracted it while they were out in Oklahoma, in Tulsa, preparing for his visit. I mean, are there no ends to which he would go to get the adulation he needs by putting everybody at risk, and not just the folks who showed up at the rallies, their families back home, the people who they come in contact with as they travel around? He puts us all at risk, and for what purpose? So
That's
it's
important,
just
important point.
profoundly disappointing, well, to
Yeah,
say the
it's
least.
very important. Let me ask you a couple of political questions, Valerie, why I have you. As you know, this week, Senator Amy Klobuchar dropped out of contention to be Joe Biden's vice presidential running mate and actually urged him to choose a woman of color. What's your stance on that?
I trust Vice President Biden to know exactly who he needs, not just to win, but frankly, well, when you think about the challenges the new administration will face, hopefully getting over a pandemic, but preparing for another wave perhaps, trying to jumpstart our economy with this horrible job loss that we've seen that has affected millions of families around our country, trying to make sure that we do heal the racial tensions that are frayed right now, renewing and reestablishing our stature in the world, which is crumbling. He has a lot of business to take care of, and so I trust him to find the right running mate for him and the right person who will help him govern. He had the job for 8 years himself. Nobody knows better than he what the job entails, and the good news is that he has an embarrassment of riches from which to choose, and I am confident that his overall cabinet, including the vice president, when you look at them in toto, it will reflect the diversity of our country. So for this choice, I trust Vice President Biden to make the right choice for himself.
Do you think the former vice president has been effective in reacting to the Black Lives Matter movement in recent weeks? Are there certain things you'd like to see him do in addition?
Oh, I think he has been very sensitive and empathetic. I heard from folks who were with the family when he both called them on the telephone and listened to what they had to say. And obviously he suffered great loss himself, so he has an understanding of what it means to lose one's loved ones. And then going down to Houston and being sensitive to not going to the funeral so that the Secret Service wouldn't disrupt the ceremony, but going the day ahead of time and again spending more time. And then doing, I thought, was a very moving video that they played during the ceremony. So I think he's hit it just right because it's authentic. And the one thing we do know, Vice President Biden, he doesn't pretend. He is who he is. And I think the way he has conducted himself has resonated broadly within the African American community and the country as a whole. And he has the leadership skills and the temperament and the empathy to pull us together, we of all races together.
Valerie Jarrett, thanks so much for joining us.
So welcome. Happy Father's Day, Will.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. The president and some in his circle would like to think the coronavirus pandemic is, in his words, dying out, but it isn't. In fact, new cases are spiking across 23 states right now. And as we near 120,000 dead Americans tonight, there are new CDC guidelines that are actually predicting more Americans, maybe as many as 25,000 additional Americans will lose their lives by July 11th. That's only in 3 weeks. We'll discuss that and more when we come back.
Coronavirus is affecting an entire country, the world. Are we ready? In the beginning of outbreaks like this, nobody knows what's happening. We're determined to keep reporting the story.
That's that word, because that seems like what worries me now, because we're ready for it.
These are the moments where our humanity really does shine through. That's the hardest part.
It's heart-wrenching.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta, CNN.
As the global economy grinds to a halt, many businesses are springing into action to support those affected by COVID-19. With protective equipment in short supply, clothing brand Mango is turning its attention from the catwalk to the healthcare crisis. It has currently donated 2 million face masks to the Spanish Ministry of Health and is manufacturing 13,000 medical gowns. And Beiersdorf, the company behind Nivea and Coppertone, has pledged nearly $55 million to support COVID-19 relief efforts. The donation will consist of disinfectant, skincare products, and financial aid. And with live concerts canceled for the foreseeable future, Spotify is matching public donations dollar for dollar, up to a total contribution of $10 million. The donations support a range of charities for musicians in need. For more stories of the people making a difference and to find out how you can impact your world, go to cnn.com/impact.
My name is Brenda Mundaka. I work in the health administration side of healthcare, and I live in Colorado. I decided to take over the basement. That way my girls know that if I am down here with the door shut, it means I am working, calling patients. They should not come in. If they want to play, they have to wait until I'm done. I'm typically done with my workday by 3 o'clock, so they still have plenty of hours in the afternoon to play if they are done with their homework. But I do make sure they go to bed later than they would regularly do once they were going to school, only because I start work at 6:30 in the morning. That way if they go to sleep late, they wake up later. So I have a good 4 or 5 hours of work before they're even up. It's been a bit difficult only because, you know, they were used to going out on the weekends especially, or having friends come over, or family. Their grandparents live nearby. Sometimes we drive by, we ask them to look out the window. We just wait, maybe speak for about a minute, and then we come right back. I am a very, I do try to stay positive, but, you know, not knowing how long it'll take for us to go back to sort of normal, or if we will ever, in the short term, be able to go back to what we used to consider normal. The best we can do for now is try to stay at home and not go out unless we really need to.
The biggest crises can be our biggest opportunities. People say that globalization and digitization are not necessarily good things, but in reality, it's fantastic. Thanks to the internet, everyone will have equal opportunity to education and gain knowledge. When people question the status quo, they wonder what needs to change. That's when innovation takes place.
Let's get back to the breaking news this hour. And now a spokeswoman for former Trump National Security Advisor John Bolton saying that he won't, after all, be voting for either Donald Trump or his opponent, Democrat Joe Biden. Previously, the Daily Telegraph reported that in an exclusive interview, Bolton said he would be voting for Biden. The spokeswoman for Bolton now says that Bolton will be writing in the name of a conservative Republican. Let's go back to CNN's Ryan Nobles, joining us from Phoenix, Arizona, where the president will be holding a campaign event on Tuesday. Ryan, Bolton's certainly a thorn in the side of the Trump campaign this week. Give us the latest. What else are you hearing?
Well, you know, Wolf, when we first talked about this story and reading that Daily Telegraph report, it did seem surprising that John Bolton would take this step to not only disassociate himself with President Trump, but then take the step of voting for a Democrat. It just seemed surprising, and it turned out it was surprising for a reason, and that's because the spokesperson for the former ambassador, Sarah Tinsley, telling CNN that the Daily Telegraph interpreted his quote incorrectly, that he does not plan to vote for President Trump. He's definitely not going to vote for President Trump, but instead he plans to write in the name of a conservative Republican for president, and that he's not going to vote for a Democrat. And so even though, you know, Bolton is not taking the step of actually voting for Joe Biden, he's certainly not doing President Trump any favors. He's been very critical of President Trump and his handling of a number of foreign policy issues, from his purchase, the role of the National Security Advisor, and of course he has this scathing tell-all book, which is expected to come out in just a couple of days. Now, the president and his campaign have pushed back very hard on what has been revealed in this book. They've called it all lies. They've also said that Bolton has broken classification agreements by writing this book, and they've actually taken him to court to prevent the book from being published, but a judge turned that back, and it is going to be released. You know, we know that John Bolton is doing a series of television interviews over the next couple of days. Wolf, I know you're doing one with him next week. It would be interesting to get his take to try and explain exactly how this was misinterpreted. If you read the quote from the Daily Telegraph, he makes it clear he's not going to vote for Donald Trump. He never actually says the words that he's going to vote for Joe Biden. You can understand why they interpreted it the way he did. But tonight, a spokesperson pushing back, saying he is indeed not voting for President Trump, but he's also not voting for Vice President Biden.
Yeah, the spokeswoman also saying they've asked the Daily Telegraph for a correction. We'll see when that comes, if that comes. Ryan Noble's reporting for us. Thank you very much. Other important news we're following as the U.S. death toll from coronavirus now approaches 120,000. 23 states.
여기까지 하겠습니다.
Coronavirus cases rise, and in 10
씻고
the
영화
states
한번 가야겠어요.
the cases are actually surging up 50% or more. Dr. Ashish Jha is joining us right now. Dr. Jha, some of these states were among the first to reopen, but not all of them.